Welcome to our channel here on YouTube. You're listening to the first installment of So We Were Wondering. We're glad you chose to spend your time with us. We hope that you'll consider it time well spent. I was talking to Paul Cookson the other day. He's a co-writer, works with us here at Focal Point Media. He mentioned something and it got us to wondering. And we didn't want to do all the wondering by ourselves. So we thought we'd share with you. 21 grams, the weight of a human soul, according to Dr. Douglas McDougall, who in 1907 devised an experiment whereby he thought that he would be able to prove the existence of the human soul. He placed 6 dying patients on a special bed that he had rigged on a scale capable of measuring to within 1/4 of an ounce. Then he carefully measured their weight before, during, and after the moment of their death. Those patients lost an average of 3/4 of an ounce of weight instantaneously at the moment that he conceived that they died. After eliminating every variable that he could think of, he came to the conclusion that those departed souls had carried with them 21 grams of weight. I think God might have agreed with McDougall. In Daniel, we read that Belshazzar was weighed in the balance and found wanting. In Job, he pleaded with God to weigh him and prove his integrity. McDougall wasn't so sure. He took great pains to point out the problems with his experiments, problems with weighing the patients, problems with timing, problems with the fact that at one point the weight drop occurred a few seconds after they had expired. Understand that the only way he would have had to tell time of death was by the heartbeat. Other scientists weren't so kind. One of them even proposed that the difference in weight could be accounted for by a rise in temperature at the time of death, which would increase sweating. I like that. Dead men would break into a sweat. Right. Others decried the fact that McDougall killed 15 dogs as part of the same experiment to try and determine whether they had souls. All they really determined was that there was no weight loss at death. Understand that this was at a time when tens of thousands of animals were being slaughtered in laboratories across the country for the good of mankind. But that seems kind of tame morally compared to the idea of using fetal tissue for experimentation like we do today. Still others insisted that he had intruded upon the dignity of the human experience of dying. That's interesting. This coming at a time when we kill children as they emerge from their mother, and we starve our elderly to death in the hospitals. We just call it withholding nutrition. One scientist even went so far as to use vocabulary to dismiss it. He labeled the experiments biological theology, as though that would change the results. The ridicule that he faced, that wasn't what got us to wondering. What really amazed us was the total death of scientific curiosity. A casual search of the internet found absolutely not one scientist in the last over 100 years that has tried to duplicate that experiment. This was an experiment designed to prove that the soul existed, that there was an eternal component of mankind that comes from God and returns to him as the scriptures claim. It was the ultimate experiment to erase our fear that our lives have no meaning beyond this point in our existence. The most basic question of human existence, and not one scientist bothered to try and duplicate that experience. And that's curious because it seems easy enough. We have far better equipment now that we could use to measure weight with. We have far better equipment today to determine the exact time of death. For example, the EEG. We don't even have to touch the patients. But it seems that no scientist cares to seek that kind of knowledge. 3 possibilities come to mind as to the reason. The first would be that a scientist has duplicated the experiment, but has not come forward with the results because they fear ridicule. The second would be that scientists have duplicated that experiment, but did not care for the results, and therefore did not come forward in order to publish them. But the third possibility is that science is so dead set against acknowledging the existence of God that they will not do any experiment that could lead anybody into that belief Because if we ever acknowledge that there was a God, we would have to also acknowledge that we have to answer to him for our actions. Here's what really got our attention. It's the flip side of the question. You see, if it ever became possible to determine the actual weight of a human soul and the actual moment when the soul departs from the body, then it would be extremely easy to determine the exact moment that that weight enters the body, the exact moment that life begins. And that has all kinds of interesting implications. We don't propose trying to weigh couples having sex, but we have developed something called in vitro fertilization. And it should be possible to weigh a test tube and be able to determine the exact moment that a sperm penetrates the egg. And wouldn't that be intriguing if at that exact moment in time that test tube inexplicably gained around 21 grams in weight? We're pretty sure that science will never ever conduct that experiment, because if they did, that would mean that they would prove that life begins exactly at the moment of conception, and that would mean we have not been destroying the unwanted products of conception. We've been killing millions of little people with souls. No, we don't think science is going to be real interested in that, but we still couldn't help wondering, and we hope that now we've got you wondering too. If you visit our website, enjoy the resources there. If you can help us with our mission, we'd be delighted. But in the meantime, as always, do anything you can to make your world better today. Thank you again for your time.